practice opened in 2004.
Previously, we worked together for a period of time in south of Spain with Guillermo Vázquez Consuegra, where we met. And then suddenly we decided to start our office here. My name is Fabrizio Barozzi, co-founder of Barozzi Veiga.
My name is Alberto Veiga, co-founder of Barozzi Veiga, and this is the Architect series. I started to work in Sevilla in 2001, and I think that the last year, 2003, I met Fabrizio there because of personal reasons. He was living in Sevilla, working there, and we were teammates for around 9 months. I guess we felt comfortable with each other working together.
When I finished my university, I felt the necessity to stay in architectural office for a period, just to see how an architectural office works. But for me, it was very, very clear that since the beginning, I wanted really to start in my own practice and see, what I can do in some way.
He won a competition in the south of Spain, and well, he asked me to join him and start working together. So it was not planned somehow. It was not. We didn't have a clear plan in mind when we started to work together. It was just the result of being good teammates, having a chance with a project that we had in 2005 in the south of Spain. We decided to start working together and try it together.
Yeah, at the beginning we moved here to Barcelona for us, just a few months and see what was the atmosphere, but now are almost 18 years, I think, that we are here.
Well, I think Barozzi Veiga, it's a workshop. We are around 25 people who share somehow the same passion for architecture, people who share some values, people that tries to see things from the same point of views. That's why I think that the team works well together.
I think it's important to continue to have this kind of fresh and direct motivation doing things. Maybe I start to say that because since yesterday we were considered young architects, now suddenly we became senior architects. But I really realized that the most important thing is to continue to have passion for architecture, in spite of all the difficulties that this beautiful profession has.
It's a contemporary workshop somehow, because it's true that next generations oblige you to understand this word workshop in a different way. But I feel comfortable with that word. I think that describes well how we approach what we do every day.
Working with competition for us has been very, very natural in some way. So you have to keep in mind that when we started the office, we really moved to Barcelona to start the office because I'm Italian, Alberto is from Galicia, so we weren't based in Barcelona, but we consciously decided to move to Barcelona for start the journey in some way. So for us it was really natural and simple to participate in national and international competition.
I'm Tony Poc, I'm from Barcelona and I'm 34 and I've been here since 7 years ago. Normally we work international competitions and we work more with invited competitions. Right now Barozzi Veiga has had a long career. We have a lot of buildings built, so we can go in this type of competitions. Once we are inside, how it works is that we don't know so much about the place because it's international, but then we try to get the key points from that, and then we try to be somehow local, but also a bit global, no? We try to be like an answer that is specific to the site, but also like an answer that can be meaningful by itself. Like it's not just belonging to that context, it can be like extrapolated to something else.
Since the very beginning, we worked internationally. So for us, it was really natural and easy to participate in competition here in Spain or in Italy, in Germany or whatever. No? Because I think we were, and we continue to be, very European in this way. So I think my generation had this wonderful opportunity to understand Europe as your home. And for the reason we really work in a natural way in different projects where we found something interesting. And I think this way of working in which a young architect can confront himself with different sensibilities, different country, this approach to architecture, I really think that has marked and structured a generation of architects. United Arab project is located in Miami. It's our second project in the US. It's been the result of a very long selective process that finally we won. It is a kind of small project, but very, very relevant for us. United Art is a no-profit foundation that essentially try to help artists to be themselves in some way. So they offer granted, then they try to promote and art in a general way, and also they offer studios in which the artists can start, they practice and they work in some way. It's the mission of this foundation really to try to explain to society, to community, the importance of art in some way. Also, they have a very important educative and pedagogical role. They organize classes. The project, when you enter in and when you look at it or when you use it, is just a tool that the community can use in some way. I think what for us was really interesting is that just using some very simple archetype, the idea of a room with a skylight, we created more than an architecture, we tried to create it really a place which the people can cross, can create a kind of an artificial landscape, in which you really explore and feel this sense of community between the artists and with the artists and the local community.
Sustainability for us, it's a way to understand how to manage the program, how to generate volume, how to understand the mass of a building, how to understand the basics, how to take profit of the site. Somehow that means to be sustainable nowadays for us since the very beginning. Then, of course, we try to understand, not just technically, but holistically, I would say, how to be more sustainable in the places where we work. But we don't use it as an adjective in our profession. I mean, we don't want to say this building is sustainable. No, this building is a building that works well in the site where it's placed. And that's the best definition for me, or in order to make something sustainable. So we understand it as a core value, as I said, but we don't like, or I personally don't like, to put that word at the end of what we make, because that's not the idea. The idea is to make things that are reasonable and that works well on the sites where we work.
Since the beginning, we tried to make architecture an architecture quite mature in some way, that respond to a context, not in just with physical form, but really try to establish a climatic link with an environment. So, and this has been a concern that we have since the very beginning. We develop in a more clear way how to create architecture really sustainable in our experience, I think, in Switzerland. Even if this project, the museum and the Academy of Art, didn't explain directly that there are very sustainable buildings, the reality, I think, is that behind there was a huge work in order to make them really efficient. The Musée Cantonal des Beaux-Arts is located in Lausanne, in Switzerland. It is a quite important project, also quite big in some way. We had the opportunity to win the competition, I think, because of the urban strategy that we defined. At the beginning, when we participated in the competition was organized in two parts. The first part was really to define a new master plan, able to fit in this kind of delicate and complex site the three major museums that the city has, the Musée des Beaux-Arts, Musée de l'Élysée, and the Design Museum, MUDAC. So they asked for a kind of urban strategy or urban vision. And the second part was really about the architecture of the main museum, the Fine Art Museum.
My name is Peter Janssens and I worked for nearly 15 years for Barozzi Veiga. The Musée des Beaux-Arts in itself, it's a kind of long building that it's quite closed on the side of the rails as well for different practical reasons as well for security. And on the other side there is a kind of long plaza and there it's quite open, especially on the ground floor. We have all the public program, we have the restaurant, we have some exhibition space for temporary exhibitions, we have the bookshop, so there is kind of really open to the public and see what's going on in the building. It's a building of 3 levels. So on the ground floor you have mostly the public program. And then on the first and second floor you have the exhibition spaces. That on one side is the permanent exhibition spaces and the other side is the temporary exhibition spaces. When in the center you have like a big void, where's the foyer with a very nice sculpture of Benone. That's, let's say, integrated as well in the entrance hall.
It's a urban fabric, it's a massive building that tries to resonate with all the industrial architecture that populated these sites before. This site, it is an artificial part of the city because it was always dedicated to trains, to maintenance of trains. So this kind of abstract character and this kind of industrial character in some way are exported and inserted into the new project.
My name is Marta Grządziak. I am Polish. I work in Barozzi Veiga for 11 years now, and I am a project leader. The project in Szczecin is situated on the plot that actually before was occupied by the concert hall, built in 19th century, badly damaged during the Second World War and demolished in 60s. After the plot was empty, and the town hall decided to do a new competition placed on the same location.
It was a very important project when we won the competition. It was 2007. We did this competition in Poland without knowing anything about Szczecin, without knowing anything about Poland. And I think it was important because it helped us understand how to be an architect working abroad, how to understand which are somehow the ideas that probably makes sense when working abroad without the deep knowledge about the site where you work, or the culture or the character of the people who live there somehow.
The proposal of the volume of the building actually brings the character of old Hansa houses with the sloped roofs. It is touching or directly in neighborhood with the headquarters of police, which is a neo-Gothic building. But if you look at it, it seems to be like freestanding. This is actually thanks to its character, which is pure white volumes, the color and the detail of the elevation, which makes a statement of the modern belonging of the building.
We try to see it always as a kind of open space for the day life of the city, and I think that it works in that way. I mean, it's not just a closed box that just opens twice by a week. It's a building that it's active the entire week. It's a building that became an element that people can recognize, that became an element that people use as a reference in order to identify themselves. I think since the beginning of the practice, I think we were conscious about the importance of having a language, an own language. So this means to understand how to draw, how to make renders, how to communicate things, probably because of the fact of being constantly doing competitions, and so that helps you to develop somehow a way of drawing or making renders, as I said. Step by step, we discovered that it was important not just for the competitions or not just for the internal work of the practice. It was important in order to communicate things to others.
My name is Diletta Trinari, and I'm taking care of the cultural projects at Barozzi Veiga. I think communication is important for an office since it allows to share, in a way, the work that we are doing. But at the same time, I think it's really important also because somehow it's kind of introspective work. So you really think about your practice and the way in which you want to describe it through text and images.
We're not worried about being recognizable, for example, in order to help people to identify eyes always with a type of drawing or a type of image. For us, it's more important to find something that it's consistent with the way we approach architecture.
During the last 3 years, we have been working on publications and exhibition. In particular, we work on the first monographic exhibition of Barozzi Veiga. That is a traveling exhibition that has been shown in Venice, Milan, and in Budweis, and hopefully we'll go somewhere else soon. It's an exhibition that tells about the work of the office by means of models, drawings, and images, telling both the conceptual part and also the constructive reality that is behind our project. We also worked on the new monograph of Barozzi Veiga that has been published in 2022.
It's true that we try to, for example, with the books, we try to communicate not exactly, the way we see everything, because that's impossible, but we have tried to match the language we use when publishing, when printing, when drawing, when doing renders, with the way we see things in order to make it coherent somehow. The Fine Arts extension of Kur, it was our second experience in Switzerland.
It was a competition that we won just after the Lausanne project. I think architecture, at least as how we intend it, is a balance between authorship and place. Authorship in the sense, for sure, it's obvious that architecture has a personal component in which you try to express your obsession. But the other part is something that grows from the specific condition of a place. No? So all our projects really try to absorb the little things that really build a reality and work with this kind of element that you just found in a place.
So it sounds simple when you describe it, but it's quite complex in terms of how to deal with a quite radical and quite sophisticated building, technologically speaking. It's not easy to make a public building underground. It's not easy to make it when you wanted to reduce the impact of the volume over the ground as much as possible in order to generate this public space around the museum. You're trying to use a language that's somehow try to remove from the user perspective all the elements that are not helping your architecture in order to make it better. So try to remove the visual impact in the galleries of technical devices that you need to use.
The project really explained this effort that we made in order to work in continuity with a story, working in continuity with pre-existing things, create a new architecture that it has the same, let's say, tone of the existing. No? I think one important aim of our work is really to trying to avoid to make generic architecture, but really try to give continuity to different stories, to different places in some way. I think core, it's an architectural and a physical transformation of this aim.
The Tanzhaus in Zurich, it's a building that's very expressive. It's just two walls, but both are very expressive, very characteristic. The Tanzhaus is a mix of public and private institution. It's open to the public, so from that point of view, it's a public building. We wanted to achieve a strong presence of the building when looking at the building from the other side of the river, and that's why we started to play with these triangular shapes, which probably are the elements that everybody can recognize and that everybody can link with the Tanzhaus. And that was important because, well, it's a public institution. We wanted to attract people, we wanted to make it more visible, independently of the fact of doing a big or a small building. In fact, it's quite small, but I think that we wanted to achieve something that people could immediately link with this institution. And that's why we weren't shy in this case. The building is small in its scale, but it's very big in its ambitions. When somebody starts to study architecture nowadays, I think that studying architecture is going to help you to understand, I think, in a good way, all what surrounds you. And the world that surrounds you.
It's normally that when you go out the school, you are full of enthusiasm, full of passion, and then the life and the professional work step by step. It's a continuous fight with many different things. No? But if I think it's important to have this very long-term view about what you want to be in some way, no? And this will be helpful in order to take decision. Something that appears maybe very urgent, very important in some period of your life, maybe after 10 years is not so important, no? So, and if you are able to select what is really important for you as a human being, you can mature and you can grow and you can be more satisfied of what you do. So identify what you want to do since the beginning, really discover your passion, and having a vision of yourself in a long-term period, I think it's the advice that I give to young architects.
Future is always tricky, because no one knows exactly what's going to happen in the future, and especially in these days where everything changes so rapidly in 6 months or in 12 months. I don't know exactly about what's going to happen with our practice. I think that Fabrizio and me, for sure, we will continue evolving somehow. We are still talking and discussing about the way we see things, the way we understand architecture. We will continue with this kind of journey, searching for the meaning of architecture for us. So for sure, if I think about ourselves in 10, 15 years, probably the way we approach architecture will be different. The profession itself, I think that it's going to change, it's going to evolve.
The way in which Alberto and me work together, and the way we share things, and the way in which we wanted to focus our project, I think it continues to be the same. At the end, I really think that, but this is something that I realized in more recent years. An architect, I think, works with a certain obsession. Even if you are not conscious of it, there are methodology of work, certain ideas, certain way of approaching things that are very intimate, and they really continue to be the same.